Okay. All right, I pushed the button. It's working on it. Says we're live. I don't know. There might be a delay though. Let's see. I just want to wait for it to come up. Oh, there it is. Okay, we're streaming. Let's see. Hello, everybody. 1 second. Just checking this out here. Okay. Being live streamed. All right. We're working. We're streaming. We're out there on the internet.
Love it.
This is kind of nerve-wracking, actually. I don't know. All right. That's weird. Okay. I think we're okay. But it seems to be, it's showing this overlay on the stream. Well, that's weird. I
can see that overlay. It's just like, I can't see what the contents of it are, but I can see like a box there.
Yeah. Now we hit this actually before too, and some testing. I thought we fixed it with one of the speakers. All right, this is why it's a test stream. It's going to be a minute. This is why it's the test stream. All right. Yeah, it shouldn't be showing that. Interesting.
Call up YouTube. Call up Zoom.
We gotta call somebody.
Get them on the phone.
Why is it doing that? Okay. Well, for us, we can continue. I think I'm gonna have to play with this. I'll do another just test stream. I think it's my setting is right. It shouldn't do that, but maybe with the YouTube connection, that changes how Zoom works here with these settings. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let me move that. Move this up and mostly out of the way. All right. Just check one more thing. Hide. Just try that. Still going to show the box with the video, I think, but we can get it mostly out of the way. Huh. Okay. All right, we got work to do. But there we go. All right. It's working though, which is the main thing. One little hiccup, we will get that addressed. Remove this. All right, and let's do a Q&A with Taylor. Thank you, everybody. I'm Ian Landsman. You know Taylor Otwell there. So we thought it'd be fun to test the stream, see how this all works, find the bugs. And while we're doing that here, we will talk to Taylor with some of your questions. Definitely try out the chat. At the end of this, give us feedback. If there's anything you notice, definitely hit us up at the Laracon Online Twitter account or right in the comments. We do have a couple of moderators in the comments on YouTube who will be tracking this as well. So if you do see anything off, let us know in there. And yeah, so thanks for joining us on our little experiment here. Do want to say just a couple things. Shout out to the sponsors. Even though this is a test stream, we literally couldn't even do this at all without them. So big thanks to the gold sponsors, silver sponsors, and the community sponsors. Really appreciate that. Little surprise, the store for Laracon is now live. So if you want to buy merch, now you can. And now through the end of the conference, you'll be able to do that at store.laracon.net. It's also linked on the website. We do have pom-pom hats this year. It's the new addition, as along with all new designs from the design team. So check that out. Shout out to those guys. Okay, so now we're going to try something else new here. We did a mix of video and text questions, so we'll see how this works. There was more questions than we're going to have time for, so I picked out a handful, and we're going to give that a go. Okay.
Hey Taylor, my question for you is who would win a one-on-one Rocket League matchup between you and Adam Wathan?
Ooh, that's a toughie. I think probably in the history of our games, I probably edge out with the most victories. But that's because I've been playing longer. I actually introduced Adam to the game, so I cannot let him catch up and surpass me since he's like kind of the pad one. That would be super embarrassing. So he has beaten me. He can beat me, but probably on a consistent basis, I win more games.
Okay, that sounds like the gauntlet's been thrown down a little bit too here. Like there's a challenge there now. Adam's going to have to step up. All right, let's try the next one. All right, so I'm going to read these out as well. What's the product of the entire Laravel ecosystem, including, the premium services you're most proud of? That's from Camient.
I'd say we probably spend the most time and get the most use out of Laravel Forge. Just like as me, myself, and us here at Laravel, we have dozens of servers on Forge. And as far as what, I know it's what I'm most proud of, but the most consistently useful for us has been Laravel Forge. So I think that's also what I'm probably the most proud of. I really like the new redesign it has. I think that gave it a really good facelift. So on the commercial side, but there's sort of like different things about each Laravel product that kind of makes it have a special place for me. So Forge is sort of like it was kind of like the first baby, and still we use it a ton. I think the employees at Laravel would probably say Vapor has like the cleanest code out of any of the Laravel products. And then on the open source side, I think Horizon is really cool. The queue management dashboard. I actually think Sanctum is really nice and cool, and Laravel Echo would probably be like my highlights on the open source side.
Cool. All right. Question one, what's your favorite Laravel feature? And then a follow-up, what's your least favorite feature or anything you regret adding to the framework? And that's from Ashley Clark.
So I think my answers to both of these are kind of, it's kind of two sides of the same coin. So my favorite feature is probably Eloquent, just because it gives you so much power in terms of database, being able to work with your database so quickly and so fast. In terms of least favorite feature, I don't necessarily have a feature that I like super regret or anything adding to the framework, because I'm already really picky about curating what goes in there because I have to maintain it once it's in there. But actually Eloquent is sort of also the thing that can be the most like hairy to debug. Like polymorphic many-to-many relations and eager loading and all of that are probably the hardest aspects of the framework to maintain. And I think anyone that's written in ORM can probably relate to this, because like the first like 80 or 90% of writing something like Eloquent is super easy and goes by super fast. Like store the array of database columns in some property and then just send them up to the database in an insert or an update query, and boom, like everything's working. And it's so fast to write that. And then once you get into the nitty gritty of like all the relationships, all the eager loading and customizing your eager loading, that gets really gnarly really quick. So favorite feature is Eloquent, but it's also the scariest. Anytime I see a big Eloquent PR, it's also like the scariest time for me.
That's kind of like a little inside baseball history here. It's like one of my favorite Taylor Otwell moments is when you were working at Userscape and you went off and you rewrote Eloquent to the second sort of version of it. And like, that was just insane. You like went into like a fugue state and just kind of like came out 2 days later with a new version. And it was like totally different.
When we were gonna start work on, I can't remember if it was HelpSpot 4 or Snappy, like Eloquent didn't even do eager loading. So like we had to get some of those features in that everyone takes for granted now. But like, I had to go into total Neo in the Matrix mode and add in a lot of those features.
That was wild. All right, let's see. Hey, there we go.
Hey Taylor, what's up? My question would be, from all those hundreds of features you've implemented into Laravel, which one was the most difficult one and why?
I guess that was kind of like the last one.
The most difficult one I've personally implemented. building Horizon and Vapor were big projects. So on the open source side, building Horizon was complicated. Building that whole Redis queue system, getting the UI to all work and getting it to be scalable, that was a pretty technical project. And then on the commercial side, probably Laravel Vapor was the trickiest, just because there's so many AWS services, and figuring out how it all works and how it all fits together was really a beast. I feel like I think it took me like 6 months to write Vapor, and I think I probably spent 2 of those months just reading AWS documentation.
That sounds incredibly painful. All right. In last year's Laracon Online talk presenting Octane, some parts of Laravel have been described to be preventing concurrent execution of requests on a web worker. Will we get Node.js style request concurrency soon? Tobias Petrie.
We have looked into this. So to give some background, Octane, of course, was released last year, and it basically keeps your Laravel application bootstrapped and in memory. And by bootstrap, I mean like all the service providers have run, all like the classes have kind of been loaded into memory. And then as requests come in, it just sort of feeds it requests while keeping it in memory. As opposed to like your standard old school Apache or Nginx setup where the whole application boots up for every request. So that basically eliminates the framework bootstrap time. And we do that using tools like Swool and Roadrunner. And those tools also have the capability to dispatch subsequent requests to the application before the previous requests are finished. So like it can be handling 2 requests kind of at the same time. The issue with that is most PHP applications are like not built to execute in that sort of with that sort of mindset or that sort of paradigm at all. Like we have static variables sometimes, or the IOC container works in this sort of static way sometimes. And just because PHP has so much history executing that way, and we've always written applications that way, it's very hard to sort of change out of that. That being said, it is something that Mohammed and I have looked into a little bit. I can't say it necessarily is coming soon, but it's something that is theoretically possible and something that we could introduce, but it would require a lot of probably re-architecting how applications are written. And it's unclear, I think, if a lot of people would really benefit from the speed gains introduced there. A minority of applications would. So it's not coming out in the next few weeks, definitely, but maybe we can look into it more this year. And see what we can do.
That seems like the kind of thing too, where like you'd have to really have a lot of documentation about how the end user has to write their app too, more than Laravel normally does. Like you'd have to be like, no, you really can't do this at all ever.
You have to rethink how you write PHP for sure.
Yeah. All right. What made you a better programmer? What topic did you learn that changed your way of programming? Miguel or Liana?
I think a lot of the key for me in programming is just having and keys to Laravel's success is just having a low pain tolerance, which is something I've talked about on podcasts before, where, so many times you interact with a tool and it's just like cumbersome and it's confusing and like the options are not documented well and you can't figure it out. And with Laravel and just programming in general, I try to have a really low pain tolerance where I try to make everything really clear, really easy, really documented, and really focusing on that, I think, is just sort of one of my like core principles as a programmer. What else made me a better programmer? A lot of people ask me like, what programming books did you read or blah, blah, blah. And I honestly haven't read a lot of like technical programming books in many years. But just focusing on being clear in your writing, clear in your coding and your APIs, I think is the key for me, at least.
Another video? Let's go for it.
Hey, what do you think made Laravel so successful, and could you repeat its success today?
That's a good question. I think there's a few things that made Laravel successful. Some things we did and some things were just being in the right spot at the right time. So as far as like the PHP ecosystem at the time, PHP 5.3 was relatively new back in late 2010. And that introduced some really key features into the language, like namespaces, anonymous functions, late static binding, and no like full stack framework was really taking advantage of all those features because it was so new, and they didn't really want to require PHP 5.3 as a minimum, I guess. And so Laravel was kind of in that spot at the right time where there was a few new frameworks being developed. Laravel was one of them, and there were other small ones being developed that took advantage of these things. And it was just sort of like an opportune moment in the PHP ecosystem where some of the older frameworks were sort of losing momentum, or they weren't being maintained as much anymore. And people were sort of hungry for something new. A lot of people were changing over to Rails. People were looking at Python, and I think Laravel was sort of a breath of fresh air at the right time to where people were like, oh, thankfully I don't have to like forget everything I've ever learned about PHP and move to some other language. I can use this new Laravel framework that's sort of more modern and uses these new features. And so in that sense, it was just the right place at the right time. But there were some things I think we explicitly did that made it successful. One was the documentation, which was very much inspired by the CodeIgniter framework at the time, because it had such good documentation. And that always stuck out to me as being like so key to that whole framework success and that whole ecosystem success, was that their user guide was so thorough and so good compared to everything else. And so before the release of Laravel 1.0, I kind of made this like promise to myself that I would not release it without like CodeIgniter level documentation, if possible. So I wrote up all the documentation. I didn't want to release it and be like, docs coming soon in the GitHub README or something like that.
Always a classic.
Yeah. And common, like I didn't want to do that. So I think that was really key, because people could get up and running really easily without frustration from day one and giving up on it. So
that was definitely the first thing I noticed. I remember when I found it was like the docs were like already better than basically every other framework. And
yeah, it's true.
It was
like the bar was low.
Yeah, it was like already like, whoa, this is like, I understand what this thing is. The first time you go to the site, which you've kept up like the whole time too. Like that's still like a huge benefit.
Yeah, we don't release anything that's not like fully documented. And as far as like, I mean, I think the second part of his question is kind of anyone can recreate that aspect of it. Right. If you write good documentation of what you're putting out there, you're just going to have a better chance of people using it.
Yeah. I mean, especially in these programmery things, like doing the not fun stuff is like a huge competitive advantage. Like nobody wants to do the not fun parts. Yeah. And just that alone, if you do it well, is like a giant advantage right there.
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering, how do you organize your work on a daily basis? Do you have a predefined schedule? When you want to implement a new feature for Laravel, what is your thought process, speaking of code? And that's by Jean DeRocha.
So I do have a pretty predefined schedule on a daily basis. So to kind of walk through it, like I usually get up in the office about like 8, like a normal work day, even though I work from home. And the first thing I do is usually open up Help Scout and handle all our support tickets. And then I go to GitHub and handle all our pull requests for the day. And that's usually like the pull request is usually like a 1.5 to 2 hour process per day, to make sure that stays like reasonable, where we have like just a handful of open pull requests that I might be waiting for feedback on at any time. And then once I'm done with that, it's sort of, I have an inbox on GitHub where the Laravel staff members can like leave me things they need for me to look at. So like pull requests to Laravel Forge or pull request to Vapor. And so then I go through that inbox. That's usually not too long of a process. And honestly, maybe by like 10:30, 11, I might be sort of like freed up for the day to work on whatever I need to work on. So lately that's kind of honestly getting ready for like Laracon and, making sure that all the stuff that we want to talk about there is ready to go. All the features are in place. All our website updates are in place and all that's ready to go. And lately it's also been some Nova 4 work because we have Nova 4 coming up pretty soon as well. And so that's kind of the rest of my day. It's just whatever I have going on there. As far as when I'm implementing a new feature, what my thought process is, speaking of code, a lot of times the first thing I do is just like write out pseudocode for how I want it to work. So if I have some new eloquent feature I want to write, I'll just kind of go into a route and start writing make-believe eloquent code for what it could look like, all the possible options, all the possible names for the method, different ways. Maybe send like a few screenshots of that to people and get some feedback on just what the general API looks like in terms of how the user is going to use it. And then once I kind of figure that out roughly, I'll get in and start actually writing some code and implementing the actual feature. And then I'll kind of test it out in a little dummy app. And then I'll, once I'm done with that, like write tests for it and document it and stuff like that. So that's kind of the general process of how I would do it.
Cool. Just was checking on some stuff here. Looks like things are going okay on the stream, so we'll keep going here. All right. Have you thought of writing another book about Laravel, like from Apprentice to Artisan, which maybe people don't know, but you did write a book. I don't know if all the new Laravel people are aware of this. So I don't even know if it's available or.
I still make like $20 a month on.
Really? There you go. So it is still available. So search Google and find that and buy that. Okay, it could be something about what you've learned over the years or something about your approach to coding. So, maybe a little bit about from Apprentice to Artisan, and then if you were to do something else.
Yeah, so Apprentice to Artisan was, I think it was before I even worked at Userscape. Maybe not.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
It was after. It was after.
Yeah,
but it was the first time I
was like your first commercial
wrote
endeavor.
something commercial thing about Laravel, and it was basically a little like 60-70 page booklet about writing Laravel apps and structuring them and stuff like that. And yeah, I have thought about writing another one so many times, but it's mainly just like finding the time to do that now that Laravel is so big and has so many things going on. That's really been more of the challenge. And I think if I was going to write another one, I have a general idea of what it would be like. And I think it would be similar to the first one, but more expanded, and mainly just like how Taylor writes Laravel applications and taking some of the lessons we've learned from Forge and Vapor and Envoyer and all of that and sort of distilling it into a book. The other challenge when I've thought about this is that I worry that like it would not be as revolutionary as people expect it to be, because Laravel, it's obvious when you think about it, but Laravel is set up in the way that I would use it, like by default. And so the way I write Laravel apps is very like by the book Laravel, Laravel's conventions, Laravel's folder structure. Because if I thought there was some better way to like structure everything by default, then like that's what Laravel would just look like out of the box. So that's the other concern. I mean, there's a few little tricks like I've learned along the way, but I don't have some mystical, project organization that you can apply to your Laravel application that just is a silver bullet to make writing apps smooth and painless forever. And I think that would be somewhat of a letdown for people. So that's always worried me a little bit. But that being said, I still kind of would like to do it just to have a fun new project to work on that isn't like specifically coding.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on that. I've even started writing out a table of contents a few months ago just to kind of spec out what might be in it. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, that's like 10 years ago or close to it when you wrote that. So
yeah, I need to take like a retreat, like a
Right.
week or two and just go to like some cabin and just
Pound it
only
out.
work on that for like a week.
Well, you know what? I follow a couple of writers and they're big on like just having word counts. Like if you were just like, I'm going to write 500 words a day and just every day you just wrote 500 words, like before you know it in a month or whatever,
words,
it's not like this is going to be a giant book. Right. So like
Right.
pretty soon you'd have a book there or most of one,
Mm-hmm.
the people want this.
And this ties into, Beep a little bit, which I've sort of talked about a little bit,
Right.
where Beep is this project I've been working on that the goal is to be a non-trivial Laravel application that I can open source and show like, oh, here's how I would do that. And so it's even tied in with that a little bit, like maybe maybe there's a companion guide that goes along with that kind of talks about some of the decisions. So I don't know what form another book would take, but I still have interest in it. And so we'll see. Maybe it'll get done.
Yeah, cool. I think this is the last one. Let's take a look.
Who is this guy?
Oh, hey, Taylor. It's James, your favorite employee here. My question for you is, what is the single piece of advice that you have for any new and up-and-coming PHP developer in 2022? Because that's the year we're in now.
Ooh, single piece of advice for 2022. Gosh, I don't know. Don't be scared to try new things, I think is one. There's a lot of stuff going on in tech and in the web in general. There's a lot of things going on in the Laravel world. So we have things like Livewire, Hotwire, Inertia, new ways of doing things on the web in general with Web 3.0 type stuff. And there's people doing Laravel stuff with that. And just all sorts of new tools, so don't be afraid to sort of expand your horizons. I've got a list of things that I want to look into. Matter of fact, I just saw a tweet last night about import maps in Laravel, and you can do JavaScript with no node compilation, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, guys, there's so many things to look into. So, don't be scared to get outside of your comfort zone and learn some new skills this year, just because there's so much going on and so much cool stuff being developed, even in Laravel after, 10 plus years. There's a lot of interesting new stuff coming out that I need to make time to play with. So yeah, that's what I would say.
I like it. Yeah, it is. It's easy to kind of get complacent and then because you just kind of get in the groove and you're doing your work.
A dinosaur.
Yeah, no, trust me, I know. And then you're like, whoa, what happened? Like everybody's doing this other thing. I didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah, it is like you can wake up on the web one day and just be like, got left behind,
Like you pick your head up and you're like, whoa, everybody's gone. Party's over. What's going on? Cool. All right. Well, that was kind of what we had scheduled, a solid half an hour here. Thanks, Taylor, for doing this. Thanks everybody. We found a bug, so that's good, and we'll get that fixed, but looks like it's running good. There's people watching. I've had like over 1,000 people, I think. Looks like there's 250 or something right now, so
people still dig Laravel.
Yeah, they still like it. You still have a job for a little bit longer. They haven't passed by Laravel yet, so that's good.
Yes.
Good news. All right, thanks a lot.
All right, see you.
All right, later. Okay. All right. Now, I'm gonna stay on the stream. You can all leave, but I'm staying on the stream. I'm not leaving because I want to see if while it's live, I could fix this thing, which may not be possible, but I'm gonna try. Well, it's hidden some of the menus. So that's going to make it harder. Let's see here. That's good. Okay. Okay, now it's me big. No. Actually, this might work. Let me do that for a second. Do this. There's a delay, so this is a little bit annoying to work on like this. Okay. Interesting. This doesn't show. Huh. Let's try this. Let me share this. Okay. All right. Let's see how that goes. That's in the way. That's in the way. Looks clean on the stream so far. There we go. That's not clean. Why? Why is it not clean? Let's try that. No, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. Okay, it's not that. I appreciate that there's 100 of you watching me debug this. Thank you for keeping me company here. We'll see if we can do this together. All right, share screen, screen capture auto. Capture with window filtering. Let's try that. This shouldn't be necessary. Oh no, that was promising. Wait, I think it worked. I think it worked. Right, it worked. Yay! All right, so the auto now doesn't work. And I had to explicitly go into share screen, advanced, screen capture mode, capture with window filtering. Well, now there's a capture with window filtering and an advanced capturing with window filtering. Let's just try advanced. Wonder what that does. Doesn't seem to make any difference. Okay, let's go back. Cool. I think we're good. My video's in the corner. You guys can see me. Okay, yeah, there we go. All right. I think we're good. See, there's a Ray versus DD discussion going on, as you would expect in the chat. Nice job, everybody. All right. I think we're good. So thank you all for hanging out with me and hanging out with Taylor. And we'll see you in just a couple days. The speakers are prepped and ready, and everybody's really excited. Make sure to share this and let everybody know. If you haven't subscribed, definitely subscribe. And we'll see you in a couple days here.